What's your greatest hope for like the history instruction? So you all came here, you filled in the form. I got all everybody's questions and thoughts. But either what's the hope or what's your problem of practice that you're thinking or that's weighing on you when it comes to your craft? Rachel.
That it becomes more accurate. The way it's taught is not very truthful. Well, the way it's presented in the written materials is not very truthful. And you really have to like scour and dig. And I think that a lot of newer teachers really don't have the time or yet the skill set yet to dig for those materials that are really the more truthful way that it happens.
I think that this year is the first year that Global 9 content is not going to be graded, or they're not going to be responsible for their knowledge of Global 9 on the regions.
Yes.
But Global 9 is so boring. There's nothing.
I disagree.
No. Okay, so again,
what you do.
Ancient civilization. So Mesopotamia, early River Valley civilization.
Egypt, yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
But that's it.
No. Okay. Well,
That's what I'm saying. I need more.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Since the school opened, it's been very like Eurocentric in terms of like the history of this talk. And when they partnered with CREAD, I was like, yes, finally, right? Because it's hard for me to kind of find the balance of like, I want to teach my kids this material, but I don't want to seem like I'm pushing my own ideologies and my own views on this history, because I want them to do that for themselves. And I want to be kind of like neutral and not biased when I present to them, you know, the history that I eventually discovered in college.
There's no such thing as neutrality. There's no such thing as not biased.
Right.
And when we choose neutrality and not biased, we're choosing white supremacy. Because that's the neutral and the not biased. Right? And so there's a way to say boom, and students can still discover. But if we're not like boom, bop, 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 this is what happened, then only if they go to college can they get it, or if they go to prison.
I pledge allegiance to my flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. October 1892. Based on the programs of the Columbus State Programs instituted and pushed in the Pledge of Allegiance into American schools.
We are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What you people have to realize is that despite having these rights, very few people exercise them. And it is that type of apathy that corrodes our country from within. This course will be like anything in life. It will be what you make of it. I am not a babysitter. Ladies and gentlemen, do not waste my time.
I thought what he said about rights was really interesting too, and that if you don't exercise your rights, then actually like the rights we're given become weaker. And I think a lot about that, you know, teaching 11th graders who are going to be able to vote really soon, how much of a responsibility that is, and a privilege at the same time.
A lot of students rely on us being like the sole provider of information. We're the fountain of information, but he's telling them like, you are going to make this class what you're going to make of it. And yes, I'm going to be here and I'm going to teach you, but at the end of the day, this is your learning, it's your experience, it's your journey.
The Cesar Chavez quote keeps ringing in my head, like, students must not be mere imitators. They must be thinkers and be free. And it's like I tell my students that all the time, like, stop taking what I say at face value. Challenge me, ask me questions.
Please take notes, and please write a couple of questions that you would perhaps ask Bob Marley if you were there on June 15, 1978.
Your lyrics indicate stolen from Africa, but I noticed that you are of mixed heritage. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your dad was a white man.
Yes, of course.
how does that filter into your lifestyle?
So my father was important in my life, but the movement of the black people are more important to me. So I don't think about that. I think about who we are as a people.
The idea of the oppressor using two oppressed groups to further harm each other. Right, because that's essentially what the Buffalo Soldier was doing, right? He was being used as a weapon by the oppressor to harm the Native American, who was also oppressed. How do we fix it?
We have to become more conscious. Maybe all of us should join the Rastafari movement.
I think the two people everyone knows, Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, no matter where you go, they're gonna sing it in English perfectly, right? Like they're gonna sing every song. You're like, how you know Bob and Michael, but you don't speak no English, right? So how do we start to take people, and for me, contemporary people. So immediately when I was thinking about this, I'm thinking about Kendrick Lamar, right? And I'm thinking about asking students, who do they listen to that they find contemporary in our focus on human rights, which is what we're going into. So let's say this is the beginning of our unit, right? And this is the question that we're asking students to engage in. If yesterday we did that Bob Marley speech and we did the UN and we did the questions, I might start today with, I told Maria I've been dying to use these lyrics forever, right? I might start my class today with these lyrics, War, from Bob Marley. But what I would have done is a lyrical tea party. I would have cut it, right? Cut the stanzas, cut it in each. And when students came in, I would just give them their strip. Not the whole song, and I probably would stay away from the chorus, right? Give them the strip and say, okay, so today this is our question. But what I want you to do is read your strip. I give them a task. What is your speaker, what is the position that your speaker holds? What ideology does your speaker hold? What connection does this have to do with human rights? Have them write it on it. Then I would give them time to find another person in the classroom. Read each other's lyrics and make a connection, a bridge between, I wouldn't tell them it was lyrics, your words and their words, make a connection. And then have us, after we've done that and people have made connections, start to pull out some themes from this. Getting our students, activating their minds to think about how do unresolved conflicts affect future events. But if we look at the first part, what are the sources of unresolved conflicts? So just take a minute. Looking through the front and the back is just like just one little quick hook on the back. Come up with 3 questions based on these lyrics.
War is not necessarily the way we think of it. It can simply take the form of unrest.
In what way does race mediate or impact conflict globally?
That Bob Marley identifies himself as African, and I wonder if that identification goes both ways. Like if some Jamaicans see themselves as African, but some Africans see Jamaicans as also African.
Your task is to go into these groups. You don't give a lot of instruction because you really want the students to be really creative and innovative, unfortunately through unfortunate situations. But they're giving pictures, they're giving documents, some level of documents. You've been given 10. And so what your task is to select 6 of them and put them into a storyboard and tell what's happening in that particular country based on that. So please gather. You have Rwanda, which is over here, and you have Chile, which is over here. And so what you need to do is to determine who's going to be your spokesperson, 2 people who are going to be your spokespersons, okay? And then put these elements into order, and you're going to say, well, what order? We don't have dates. But put a storyline together, a storyboard together about what happened in that particular country.
It just says, it was interesting because it said 9/11, and I think that when you think of 9/11, you think of the Twin Towers. But presenting it to the students as like it's 9/11, but it's not the 9/11 you know about. It's like another 9/11. So with that being said, the first picture says September 11th, 1973. Pinochet, backed by U.S., overthrows socialist President Allende. And then our picture was inspired by, we wanted to include the map of South America where Chile is. And then there was a picture here that shows the shadow that's casted on Chile. So the picture would be the South America with the shadow of Pinochet over Chile. That would be the first picture. The second picture, it would be the different poster boards that were created of all the people that were disappeared, and then in big numbers it will say 1,248 disappeared, 30,000 tortured.
And now, this group here.
About basically one of the questions we had was that in 1948 there was an agreement for the United Nations, and it basically said that the United Nations in part was to ensure that the atrocities of the Holocaust would never happen again. And then the question, well, the exclamation was, and yet there were all these other genocides. We also talked about the displacement of Rwandan citizens, and that's what this graph kind of entails, like how Rwandan citizens are displaced by the millions. And lastly, we spoke about this interesting piece that basically said there is a general belief, there's a general feeling that we have already spent a lot in Rwanda and that the Europeans and others should be doing more.
And so the question, I think, would go right back to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and about how even monetizing human life is inherently against what we're supposed to be doing as a global community.
Yeah. So for me, I would definitely come back to Bob Marley's war lyrics, because there's one thing about like, what do we do to stop it when it starts? But there's another thing of like, for me, what's the root of it?
Yeah.
What's the root of it? And how do we raise up a generation that roots out that root? Because for me, that's how you really stop it from even starting.
Just in closing, in terms of this unit, there are many assessment pieces. One we didn't do here, but to basically do a mock UN and have students review and edit each other and basically give feedback to each other, which is a wonderful thing to do, where they critique each other. I think the first leg of it, you basically modeling, and then, I mean, it's going to take more time to do scorings and rubrics and so forth, but essentially you create that mock UN. But there are other means. There's poetry, there's role play, which we did today, just a little portion of it. There's social media, there's public service campaigns and announcements that you can do within your own local setting, within the classroom, or for that matter, a school setting, and building school culture. There's debate, and we just highlighted a couple of them that utilize media, because we're so involved with technology and so forth, for us not to ignore it, but to really use it and utilize it in the classroom. And instead of telling that kid, I'm going to take your cell phone today because you keep using it, then knowing that, then utilize their assets in terms of they're really well versed in terms of technology. Let's use it for a particular event to really draw into learning about history.